Oh, good morning. Well, here's Rocky. He's laid up on top of me there, cutting off the circulation to my legs again. He's a big boy, I'll tell you. Anyway, there's something I've been thinking about, and I've noticed that it's a trend in society, and it's a little disturbing. And that is that people who are in positions of authority, say people who are in positions of power due to their position with the law or with government or with science or with medicine or whatever, they've started to think that they are the thing that they're connected to. And society agrees with them, and that's a huge problem. And what I mean by that is, well, to give you an example everybody will be familiar with, Dr. Fauci, he once said that anybody who goes against him, anybody who doesn't do as he says, is going against science, because he said, I am science. So basically, Dr. Fauci was saying that he himself is science. I've run up against this with the police. And in fact, I'll tell you something about me. I don't know if I've shared this on any other videos or not. I may have. And in Canada, I'm actually on a list. I'm on a federal government list of domestic terrorists. I'm considered a domestic terrorist. Now, I never made bomb threats. I never entertained the idea of overthrowing the government. I'd never raised a militia or tried to or anything like that. I never tried to enlist the help of any foreign powers to come in and do harm or overthrow the government. I never spied for foreign powers or anything. I never gave foreign powers top secret information. Not that I have any to give, but, I've never had the opportunity to do that, and I've never done that. But because I went against the police so many times while the police were acting in corrupt ways and while the police were overstepping, the police put my name on a list of domestic terrorists, you see. And the thing is, it's an unjust thing. It shouldn't be there. I'm not a domestic terrorist. I really see no point in trying to overthrow a corrupt government. I do believe our government is corrupt, by the way, but the way I look at it is all we'd be doing is replacing one group of corrupt pricks with another group of corrupt pricks. Because anybody who's going to be in there is going to be corrupt. So I see no point to having a civil war and all that bloodshed and property damage and heartache and everything just so that we can replace one group of crooks with a new group of crooks. So I don't support that anyway. I really don't. I don't think it's worth the trouble. I don't think it's worth the cost, just to go from bad to bad, which is what we would do. However, you see, what's happened there is, though, if the police say you're a terrorist, then you're a terrorist. Automatically, it's assumed that if the police say so, they have the ability to do that, to say, well, he's a terrorist, and then you're officially a terrorist. And see, what happened there is the police who I was dealing with, who were corrupt, they believe that they are the law, and society supported them in that. So I had people tell me, well, the police are the law. Well, no, the police are no more of a law than the girl that works at McDonald's is a Big Mac. The police are not the law. The police are entrusted with the enforcement of the law. There's a difference, And the same is true now with our politicians. If you don't support our prime minister, or if you're in the States and you don't support your president, then you are regarded as going against the country. It's seen as almost like a treasonous thing to speak against your president or your prime minister. And our prime minister here uses the royal we all the time. He claims that he speaks for all Canadians and stuff like that. He makes out like anybody who goes against him is going against Canada. So basically, he's making out that he is Canada. And the issue with that really is that that's what a king does. In the Middle Ages, if you went against the king, then you were going against the country. You were guilty of treason. They used to execute people for that. So, if the king was overstepping in some way, if the king was doing unfair and unjust things and you called him out for it, well, then that was the same as trying to destroy the country, in the eyes of the law. Now we're seeing a resurgence of that. We're seeing how politicians are using the royal we, and people are going along with it. People are saying, well, yeah, it's treasonous. You go against the prime minister, it's treasonous. People say that about the trucker convoy. They were a bunch of treasonous people because they were in disagreement with the prime minister and they took their grievances to the seat of power. Which is a civil right, actually. We have a right to do that. But people will say, well, no, they committed treason because they went against the prime minister. They went against the sitting government. Well, in a democratic society, we're allowed to go against the sitting government so long as we don't use violence. I mean, we can't go against the sitting government by doing assassinations and blowing stuff up. But we can go against them verbally. We can go against them in writing. We can say and write things where we're expressing an opinion against them. What I'm doing right now, in this society we're in now, is probably considered treasonous. The things I'm saying right now are probably considered treasonous, but they're really not. I'm a citizen exercising my right of free expression. I'm exercising my right to express my personal opinion. And that's what this is. This is my personal opinion about the current state of the world and the current state of our country and the current state of society. And I have a right to do that. Now, people have a right to disagree with me and to say they disagree with me and to say why they disagree with me if they choose to. But, and I uphold them in that too. But the thing is, that's part of being in a free country. Now, if the prime minister can't be criticized, then he becomes no different than a medieval king, only answerable to God himself. And that's really bad for a variety of reasons, one of which is we're living in a society now that doesn't accept God. So if the prime minister is only answerable to God himself, and society refuses to acknowledge God, well, then he isn't even answerable to God, because we're living in an atheistic society. So society says he's answerable to no one, then. That's not a good thing. We need people to hold these people to account, to keep them honest, because human nature is such that unbridled power leads to a lot of bad things. You can't have one man with too much power. That's the reason that we did away, for the most part, with kings in the world. Because if you got a good king, then things were great. If you got a king that could, for the most part, resist the human tendency to overstep when given too much power, then things were good. But if you got a king who couldn't resist that, well, then things were horrible. Then you were just living in an awful situation all the time. And that's why we got rid of kings, really. That's why we pretty much overthrew them and relegated them to the role of figureheads at best, and took away most of that power. And so, basically it's like this. Dr. Fauci is not science. The police are not the law, and politicians are not the country. The Prime Minister is not Canada. And also, we're not here to serve these people. They're here to serve us. The Prime Minister is supposed to serve us. We're not here to serve him. The police are supposed to be serving us. They're civil servants. They're supposed to serve us. We're not here to serve the police. The same is true with medical people and other people like that, scientists and so on. They're here to serve us. Now, they are not the thing that they represent. They are supposed to be people who work within the thing that we represent, whether that thing be science or the law or the government. And we need to get over this idea that to disagree is to go against that entire thing. If you disagree with an individual who's acting in the capacity of a representative of that thing. If I disagree with a police officer because the police officer comes and asks me for a bribe, or hauls me out of my car by my throat and beats me up on the side of the road, which has happened to me, without any justification for doing so, when I'm not resisting or anything. I've had that happen where I was never given a chance to resist, where the guy had the door open and was hauling me out of the car by my throat and beating me. So, I've had that happen just because they don't like me. I've had previous run-ins with me and they know me and they don't like me. So it's like, when things like that happen, if I say that cop shouldn't have done that, that's not me committing a serious crime or any kind of a crime. That's me expressing an opinion that the cop overstepped in that instance. The same is true with the Prime Minister. If I say I disagree with the Prime Minister, that's not an act of treason. That's an act of a citizen expressing an opinion. That's what that is, which is allowed, or at least has been allowed up to now. I guess it's changing now. They're trying to pass laws even to make it an illegal act, to say that if you criticize the Prime Minister or any other authority figure, that you are committing a criminal act. But for the time being, it isn't. And if they do pass those laws, I'm going to continue to criticize when I see wrongdoing, because those laws will be unjust. And I won't follow laws that are very clearly unjust. The laws against raping, robbing, and murdering make sense to me. I understand those are just laws, and I approve of them, and so on. But I can't say I approve of a law that says that I'm not allowed to say that I disagree with my government. I understand a law that says I'm not allowed to do violence against my government. I understand that I'm not allowed to threaten my government and, to say I'm going to shoot people or blow things up or whatever, and I'm certainly not allowed to do that. And I understand that, and I agree with that. But to say, no, you can't verbally say, if you're talking to your friend on the street and you say, I don't think that they're doing right there with that law they're passing, or I think the Prime Minister's a bit of a twit, or whatever. If you say that, you should be able to say it and not be charged criminally for saying it. It's ridiculous. If you say, I think we should raise an army and overthrow them, well, then maybe you're getting into an area where you need to be looked at. But, there has to be a limit, because we can't have civil war. But at the same time, we have to have the freedom to openly discuss issues that affect us in our day-to-day lives, and to discuss them with frankness, and to have these debates with each other, and also to take our concerns and our grievances and our worries about the direction the country is going to the seat of power, and to tell them what we approve of and what we don't approve of. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what happens in a healthy democracy. Anyway, that's enough ranting for now. Rocky is sleeping away peacefully here. He's not too badly affected by it. But he gets his treats and his head rubs and everything, regardless of what's happening out there in the country. His area is the area in the camper and around the camper, so it's only things that happen in the immediate area that have any great effect on him. And that's kind of nice, and I'm happy for him that is the case.